Hi everyone, Paul Carden here of the Wirral Residents Association. We're here at Observatory School on Bidston Village Road in Birkenhead at the junction of Hoylake Road. Yeah, and in the distance there you can see the 20 metre 5G mast that we're coming to visit today. And we've just taken a reading. And we're very close to the school here. Here it is at the playground with all the kids. It's just over the hedge there.
We'll switch it on.
Okay, thanks. Cheers, Jazz.
The RF setting.
Now this is the reading we're getting, and we're a good more than 100 metres away from the mast. And the output we're looking at here is...
The peak is over 20.
Yeah.
And the average there is 4, 5, it's coming down to 3.
Yeah.
It's been up to 7 and 6 milliwatts per square metre.
Yeah, and this is way above the safety levels, or the levels that we're told are safe. So there we are.
Okay.
Hi, I'm on Hoylake Road near to the 5G mast that was installed here a couple of years ago. Just going to take a reading from it. Okay, that's hovering around 6, 7, 8 milliwatts per metre squared. And very importantly, as you can see here, the peak reading is 18.33. Now that peak reading is what causes the damage. And the common consensus is that if you live very close to one of these masts, you're sitting within its transmissions most of the time, and there's going to be a cumulative effect, and the safety level for these situations is 1 milliwatt per metre squared. Whereas if you are walking past a mast just on one occasion, or just walking past the mast once or twice a day, the safe level is viewed to be 2 milliwatts per metre squared. And as we can see on our visit, we had average readings of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but the peak reading was 20 on our first measurement and 18 on our second measurement. So these readings are way, way above the safe limit. And we should also state that the industry in the UK has been permitted by the government to set the safe levels at 10,000 milliwatts per metre squared, which is about 5,000 times higher than it should be. To give you a good analogy for this, imagine if around a school you are setting the speed limits for the traffic, and you set those speed limits at 3,000 miles per hour. So way, way above what it needs to be. And imagine a scenario where a child gets killed by a car, but they can't arrest, charge and try the driver and potentially put him in prison because he was only doing 60 miles an hour. He had to get to 3,000 miles per hour to be arrested. Okay, just to let people know, the equipment that we use today to take our readings is a tri-field TF2 EMF meter. Okay, I'd like to add a few notes to this file now. Start by saying the council reference number for this particular mast on Hoylake Road is ANTX/22/0216. And some of the adverse effects from electromagnetic frequencies are oxidative stress in the human body, which leads to cell damage, and this can potentially lead on to cancer. And there's also damage to young girls' ovaries and reproductive system. There are also immune system effects, potential impacts on immune function, raising concerns about biological responses to long-term exposure. Then there's genotoxicity, evidence of DNA damage in some studies, neurological effects. Some research suggests possible changes in neuronal activity warranting further investigation, and cellular disruption, increased cell membrane permeability, which may influence various biological processes. And I should add that the World Health Organization announced in 2011, which is 14 years ago, that radio frequencies are a potential carcinogen. And I'm not just making this stuff up. Since World War II, there have been 6,000 independent scientific studies which have found that radio frequencies or electromagnetic frequencies are a potential carcinogen. And you don't hear about these studies because the telecoms industry is a multi-trillion-pound industry, and it suppresses this kind of information, and it's very close to the media, and the media are not going to report this stuff, so you won't see it in your Daily Mirror or your Guardian or on any of your BBC channels. You've got to go looking for it yourself on the internet. Okay, and I'll just give you a brief resume on some of my experience. Quite some time ago, I was a professional radio communicator in the Royal Navy, and I think it's worth stating that when I was on the ships, we'd transmit all day long when we were at sea, short range or long range, so VHF or HF. And when we came into harbour, it was different. The government, back then in the shape of the Ministry of Defence, acknowledged the danger of radio frequencies. And if we came into harbour, we used to close everything down and we'd go back to the old way of receiving paper messages through the post. So we'd go to the local communication centre and pick up our messages there. And that was done because the Ministry of Defence decided that we had to protect us and protect the dockyard workers who were working on our ship, obviously. We'd come into harbour a lot. We'd come in for stores, ammunition, or to refuel. And the Ministry of Defence protected us back then. I'm not sure if they're doing that now in the Royal Navy. I really don't know, but back then they did, and that's worth stating. Okay, if you want to see more information, i.e. the information I've used to make this video, go to www.wirralresidenceassociation.co.uk. Okay, that concludes this video.